and welcome back to the Rugby Connection podcast. Well, we are getting closer to just action-packed week on, week out. It has been actually decent this week. We've got NPC, we've got the Rugby Championship, and all the fiery altercations that came from that.
Oh, yes.
And we've got some international rugby as well. And then, of course, we will predict building up to technically what is the season opener for most people. Harv is working this week, so it's our resident Boca again. It's Cam. How you doing, mate?
I apologise for that. But no, we have had, like you said, considering, all the juicy stuff, or, what most would say the juicy stuff starts this week and the next week come in. Still had an action-packed week of rugby.
Yeah. Where would you like to start? I'll let you pick this week.
I mean, I think we got to start with the big talking points, the competition, which is impossible to predict at the moment, the Rugby Championship.
I think I'll go for NBC. Yeah, no, that's fair. Rugby Championship, yeah. New Zealand, my God, were they pissed off after last week?
Wow.
53-3 against Argentina.
I will say, I predicted the All Blacks to win this one. I thought, right, they've lost. It's the same situation as against the Springboks. They lost the first one, took a bit of a beating. They came back, played much better in the second one. I didn't expect them to come back quite so hard. You can definitely tell that they had a chip on their shoulder from their previous loss to the Pumas.
Yeah, 100%. It was unreal. I've lost all sorts of respect, though, for Pablo Matera.
Yeah, the little, I mean, everybody knows Dan Coles can be a bit of a shithouse, a bit of a grub, as the Kiwis would say. But I mean, yeah, Matera wasn't having any of it in the handshakes, was he? He was not
And if you've not seen it, it basically just goes against everything from rugby folklore.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what happens on the pitch, you shake hands with the opposition at the end of the game, and then go and have some nice food and a nice cold beverage with it as well.
What happens on the pitch stays on the pitch. Afterwards, you shake hands, be a gentleman about it all. But not exactly something we want to see in the game, but hopefully it is just a sort of one-off from Matera.
It was a proper fiery shove as well. It wasn't like he just ignored Dane Coles' hand. He just
you could see in his face.
Not.
It was definitely an exchange of words that, I wish Ref Mike or something would have picked up, because that could have been a little bit more juicy. But no, he wasn't happy at all. But anyway, with the game itself, the All Blacks looked like a different team. And, if you're looking at it from a sort of an outside perspective, and you haven't followed rugby for a while, seeing a scoreline like this against the Pumas, you'd probably be thinking, All Blacks versus Pumas makes sense. But obviously, Pumas under Checker this year have been in pretty phenomenal form. They are looking like a completely different team. They've come into the championship. They've got a win over Australia, a big win over Australia, and a win over New Zealand in New Zealand. So they are properly competitive. So for a struggling All Blacks team to do this to a team who's on the rise, very encouraging. And it was like watching, I think we said when the All Blacks beat the Springboks in the second match, it's nice to see them get the win, but it still doesn't look like the old All Blacks.
No.
This looked like the old All Blacks. This looked like the All Blacks that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, they came out with intent. I mean, I'm kind of just having a quick squiz over it again, just to remind myself. 40 seconds in, they're at the 5-metre line, and Argentina's 22. It's unreal, just proper dominant, really. And the favourite Los Puma of Thomas Lavanini, another card. Stop.
And actually, funny enough, I think that yellow card. Now, to be fair to him, it wasn't him being a bit ill-disciplined. It was a team yellow card, and he just happened to be the one to get the card. But I do believe that now means that he has broken the record for the most carded player in world rugby history, which is, I don't know, it's not exactly the record you want.
No, it's not. I will just add, though, I'm going to flip it because we could talk about Lavanini all day. Just you're very ill disciplined, and I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
But how good is Rico Ioane?
I was going to say, and to be honest, I think both Harvey and Ioane played brilliantly, but Ioane especially, that line break that he made, that I think, was it Will Jordan who sort of ran cross field and then fed it to him when they sort of went end to end.
Yeah.
He has to be the fastest player maybe in world rugby at the moment. He's just got wheels.
Oh, he has. And I think there's some mullet as well, streamlining at the sides.
The aerodynamics has to come into play there. Like, there's no other explanation how he can just get, top speed that fast.
It's frightening. He is the best 13 in world rugby, quite easily.
I don't know, Lucanio Arms there as well. But then again, I must say, and I still stand by this, Rico Ioane, I still prefer him on the wing. He is settling much better, and that game proves it. He's settling much better into the 13 position, and it's him. I still want to see him on the wing. I want to see Will Jordan at fullback, and I want to see Ioane back on the wing, because then I think things will happen.
So, okay, just for fun, before we move on, then, who would you, if it was up to you, who's the All Blacks backline? We'll just go backline.
The problem is with the All Blacks right now, and this might also be my sort of maybe lack of knowledge of just New Zealand player depth and player base. They don't really have, other than currently Harvey and Ioane, they don't really have any other standout midfielders. I mean, who's the player that they signed from league?
I was going to say Tuivasa-Sheck. I love him. I think he needs to be there.
I'd like to see him play. So, okay, in that case, I'm keeping Harvey at 12. So I'm going with, after that performance, I'm going with Mo'unga at 10, Aaron Smith at 9, Aaron Smith at 9, Mo'unga at 10. Yep. Keeping Harvey at 12. Tuivasa-Sheck, bringing him in at 13.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm having, now it's a toss-up. Oh no, I think at the moment I'm having Ioane and Jordan on the wings.
And Jordy at the back, or Bowden?
Jordy or Bodie at the back, because we haven't seen Bodie play fullback properly for a while. There's a lot there, because they've got players like, the thing is, with Jordy as well, actually Jordy can fill in at centre as well. Push Harvey out at 13. Give Jordy a chance at 12, because he's a big lad.
Yes, yeah. I'm not against that. It's your picks.
But no, I think a lot of the All Blacks players that game went unsung. Well, not unsung, but all of them had a good game. I don't think there was a player on that team that had a bad game. And the front row, De Groot and Lomax,
so good.
They are, I think they've cemented themselves. Neither of them had played too many tests, and they've already pretty much cemented themselves as probably the best front row for the All Blacks.
They're younger as well. Like, I think Ethan de Groot's like 26, if that.
Units. I mean, he played the second test against the Springboks in the year, and that was the game where the Springboks were actually finding a bit of a challenge at the scrum, which is crazy to say, but
I've actually just found out how old Ethan de Groot is, and I'm a bit sick because I'm older than him.
Yeah, I'm finding that the further into our 20s we get, the more international players are younger than us. It makes me feel old.
No, he is 24. I'm just like a week older than him.
Good. He's
no, it's not too bad. It's not like I was walking and talking.
But yeah, but no, talking about young players, and a little bit of a segue onto the next game of the weekend. Certain Kane Moody on debut against the Wallabies.
Yes.
I'm so happy that the stars of the URC in the South African provinces are finally getting their run in. Obviously, we saw Kurtley Arendse in the first game. Obviously, he had a bit of a mare with the with the whole ban and getting knocked out. But now we've seen Moody, both of which scoring tries on debut. I think 2019 after the World Cup, and then we had COVID, and then getting into the Lions tour, we haven't played for 2 years. I was worried, and I think most people were sort of looking at the Springbok lineup and thinking, where's our depth? We don't really have any depth. After the last URC season gone and how well the South African teams did, I'm happily confident in our depth now, because we've seen these young players coming up and proving themselves at test match level.
That's fair. I'm not in the best position to say that, because I'm not obviously South African, unlike your good self. But you actually reminded me of Victor Matfield there. Yeah, if you go back and listen to our interview, he says how important it is for the players to be at South Africa, like in South Africa, for the team. And with this new URC deal, it looks like South African teams will get paid in euros, which is obviously more money, so it can draw in more South African players home. So,
which will just grow the sport in South Africa and just keep adding to the depth. But no, the Springboks Wallabies game, quite the turnaround from last week. I think last week we saw the Aussies start quite fast, a bit faster than the Springboks started in this game. But this week, the Boks got the first try with a little bit of a quick tap and go from Hendricks. Ended up Etzebeth feeding Dialande going under the posts. The Aussies just looked a bit flat-footed this week.
I did notice that. I'm glad you mentioned the big man though. Even Etzebeth rolled back the years, turned beast mode up to 11, and went for Alan Alatola. Proper went from, and it has something to do with Rugby Connection. Who's referee?
Ben O'Keefe.
It was our boy Ben O'Keefe.
Probably, and I've said this to Mario before, out of the guests that we've had on the show, purely because it's quite refreshing to have a referee's perspective on it. I think probably maybe below Victor Matfield now, just because Victor Matfield was my childhood hero. Ben O'Keefe, my favourite guest that we've had on the show.
That's fair. That's fair. I did message Ben, just to be like, looks like you had fun, just like trying to like, and he was like, oh mate, it was fucking nuts. So I was like, well, yeah, it would be. Like, you tried, more praise Wayne Barnes, who tried to jump in the middle, like, no, leave it. No, you're going for the ride with them. It's not happening. No,
but you know how I think I said last week how I said Kremer must be the scariest looking man in world rugby. Etzebeth's face, the close up of his face, the pure fire, rage in his face.
That was new.
Favorite player in the world, has been for a few years. It even got me scared. I was like, shit, that guy's a scary man.
Yeah, I think it's been such a while that we've seen even do like pushing and shoving and just kind of laugh it off and almost like mellow out.
That was
we've not had like a Hulk in a while, and oh my god, he brought it. But again, what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch, because they hugged, they made up, they had a beer afterwards. Rugby values.
Big Alan did. He went, fair play to him, got a beer, shared a beer with Etzebeth, had a chat. And that's what we want to see. Like, if you're looking back at the Matera, situation and whatnot, it's nice to see. And I think a lot of people are saying, and I agree as well, that's probably the most handbagsy game of rugby, the most tense, pushy, shovey game of rugby that I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
And even after a game like that, it's nice just to see the players, because there was genuine emotion in that game. A lot of people,
100%.
Yeah, a lot of people say, it's they're just doing it for the game, doing it for a bit of shithousery. No, the Springboks hadn't won in Australia since 2013, and after last week with a bit of Nick White shithousery and the Marika Korobetti tackle, and there was genuine emotion in that game. But it's lovely to see the players just getting along and whatnot after the game. So
it is, and it's weird because you mentioned the pushing and shoving and the handbags and all that. Even before Eben and Alan went for it, there was a lot of shoving going on. Everywhere.
Was it our buddy again, Nick White, again, a friend of the show? well, pushing Khaleesi to the floor after one of the rucks, and was it? I think the ref Mike picked up Makazole Mpimpi, and bear in mind Makazole Mpimpi probably one of the politest, quietest on the pitch. Just he seems like a very respectful man. I can't remember he shouting at someone. You couldn't see him on screen, but just shouting to the Australian team, just tell him to shut up. So yeah, genuine emotion.
And that's what you love. That's what you want in a game. You want emotion.
It made for a good game, and I will say, one Aussie player that I have to two. I'm going to say two Aussie players that I have to really give credit to, who I think have been the standouts this Rugby Championship. Valentine and McBride.
Yes, Fraser McWright. If Aussies were worried that Hooper was away, you don't need to worry.
He's like the second coming of Michael Hooper.
He is Michael Hooper and David Pocock's love child.
He's a brilliant player. He is, for a pretty junior player in the Wallaby setup, he's asserted himself quickly. You see him on the pitch. You see him before scrums. He's the one shouting, hyping his team up, and he just backs it up in the contact, in the tackles, in his ball carrying. And like I said, Valentini as well.
He's a unit. He's an absolute unit.
And again, no matter, even in the game where they got absolutely trounced by the Pumas, he was the one player that, and I haven't really looked at the stats, but I'm sure if you looked at his stats, he's getting over the gain line pretty much every carry he makes. He's good ball in hand. He's just a solid player. He's a breakdown threat. He can jump in the lineouts. He's all over the place. He's just a brilliant player. So, the Aussies don't fear too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
One question I have. One question I have for you is: we've got a week off from the Rugby Championship next week, but
are you sure? Is that confirmed?
That is confirmed. Following that, we have a certain hotly contested trophy between two, New Zealand and Australia, the Blissful Cup. Could this be the year that the Aussies finally reclaim the Blissful Cup?
I'm going to say yes, but it's more of a selfish pod reason.
Yeah, we are fan of the Aussies.
Not because of Nick, not because of having Nick on. It's something Nick said. Now it's become a running thing with Rugby Connection that I guess will come on. They'll just say something, and it ends up happening.
Okay.
Nick White said it's about bloody time they win the Blissful.
And to be honest, right now with an All Blacks team who can either be red hot in one game and then fucking lukewarm in another game, excuse my language. This is the year for the Aussies to put in a performance and reclaim the cup. And if it happens, then if we're looking at the Rugby Championship standings at the moment, we've got All Blacks on top with 10 points. Then
how are they on top?
A massive winner for Pumas. And then we've got, but the thing is, they're on 10 points. All of the other three teams are all on 9 points.
Oh, that's one slip up.
One slip up from any of the teams. And, it's anyone's game still, no matter the Pumas being beaten 53-3, we'll win the thing. So, yeah. But anyway, that was the rugby.
Yeah, we've got one more international to talk about. England women versus the USA at Sandy Park down in Exeter. 52-14 to the Red Roses.
Trounced them. Absolutely trounced them.
It felt like a homecoming for some of the Eagles because they have a core Chiefs set up down there, so it's almost like a homecoming for them. And it was another clash of the guests, clash of captains this week actually.
Clash of the captains.
Emily Scarlett versus Kate Zachary. What a battle! I'd have them on the same team if I could get away with it somehow. They'd be in the same team and it'd be dominant.
If you were to make a World 15 or a women's bar team, you would try have them both, wouldn't you? You would want them both on.
easily, 100%. But who's captain then?
Biased purely because I followed the Red Roses more, purely
Okay.
because their success.
Yes.
It essentially got me interested in women's rugby. I'd have Scarrett.
She is fantastic. They're both fantastic. And
Pure
they're both
bias.
so lovely as well. Go and check out the interviews, because we'll just keep plugging our own show.
Too right.
No, I don't think it was as big a thumping as I thought it was going to be. I know that sounds stupid, because 52-14,
It's pretty big thumping.
a big thumping, but women's rugby now is so hot, and it's changing every game. Other players are picking up contracts. Other unions are getting contracts and funding in. England have always been, as long as I can remember, have always been pro.
Yep.
The USA are not pro. They're actually selling tops for the World Cup, and the money that makes off the tops goes to the players.
Goes to the team. It's encouraging, if you have a fully pro team like the Red Roses, who are, I believe they are on the longest winning record, correct me if I'm wrong, the longest winning record in world rugby history for a professional team.
Yeah.
Like,
they are either done it or it's just about to happen.
What's that?
I'm saying they've either broke that record or they're not far off. It's like 26 wins on the bounce or something. It's unreal.
Hold the record, or maybe it's win percentage record. I'm thinking of something like I saw something about them coming close to a record or something. But for a fully amateur team to run in 2 scores against the Red Roses, who are, in terms of the women's rugby, are comparable to the 2011-2015 All Blacks. If you look at it that way, they are absolutely unstoppable.
Yep.
And then you just got to think what the USA could do with fully professional contracts. And good.
Like we said when the TikTok Six Nations was on, pay them. I know there is more to it, and you have to, but pay them. They deserve it.
In my opinion, because you've got, obviously I understand it's been going on for a lot longer, the professional game and the men's game and everything, but just get it done.
Yeah.
They keep talking on about how they want to grow the women's game and blah 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 blah. Then pay the teams, pay your national team.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at a game between, say, France and the Red Roses, or the Black Ferns and France, or Black Ferns and Red Roses, those games sell tickets, because these teams are fully professional rugby teams, and they are playing at and actually, someone mentioned, with women's rugby, I find there's a lot less kicking than men's rugby.
Hard running.
There's a lot more, and if that's what exciting rugby, hard running, plenty passing the ball around. In fact, I'd probably say there's more line breaks in women's rugby than there are in the men's game. Just, it's a completely different watch than a men's game in terms of, I feel it's just a lot of the games are more fast paced.
Yeah, I think I said this earlier actually. Men's 15s, women's 15s, men's 7s, women's 7s, and then anything age grade, they're all different sports.
100%. It's like watching test match rugby compared to domestic rugby.
Yeah, totally different ballgame. Yeah.
Different.
Similar faces, totally different game though.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Well said. I'm looking at the rankings for the women's game. It is very different, but that's a good thing. Like I've just said. So world number ones, Red Roses, obviously by quite a fair bit. They're at 96.78.
That is more points than any of the men's team.
Yeah, that is.
What are 90, 80? No.
I'll quickly. So Ireland's currently the men's rankings with 90.03.
There we go.
But going back to the girls, Red Roses top, Blackthorns in second, France third. So there's those big three heavy hitters that you've said. They're all top. Canada's in fourth.
There we are.
USA's fifth. Italy are in sixth. Australia seventh. Ireland eighth. Wales ninth. Scotland 10th.
Completely different top 10. You know,
Completely.
if you're looking at that, thinking like, you know, I backed the South African women's team. I'm begging for, because I know they've done recently, I've seen on the Springboks, the men's team in Scram, they've been doing quite a few, I think they've done a few training sessions with the women's team, which is nice to see. They've done a press events and photo shoots and whatnot with the women's team. And I'm like, that's all well and good. But can we actually focus on developing the women's rugby in South Africa?
It's all well and good taking pictures to make it look good, but actually do something with it. Yeah.
Like actually maybe pay them, maybe?
Again, it just fits in. Like we've been saying it all along, just pay them. But yeah, that's all we've got for the women's game this week, just the one international. And we have got more this week. It is basically the last dance before the World Cup.
Yep.
And guess what? Shot caller, I'm at a game in Edinburgh on Sunday.
Of course he
Scotland, but it's Scotland versus Spain, and I get to show off the new Scotland jersey.
It is a beautiful jersey.
It's so. When I first seen it, I was like,
It's just when I first saw it, I was like, it's just not got the pink on it.
Yeah, it's just not the pink on it,
but then when you see design, it's a very nice jersey. Very nice jersey.
So we've got Scotland, Spain. I can't remember what other games there is. I'll just have a quick look. But I mean, we are jam-packed next week.
Oh, it's going to be a good week. We're going to have plenty to talk about. Plenty.
Like, don't worry, we're not going to leave you high and dry for next week.
Even with no Rugby Championship, I mean, we got the Prem, we got more women's internationals. We'll probably be talking about the lead up to the World Cup, because that's literally like a couple of weeks away.
We've actually got a World Cup next week. 7 World Cups next week.
7 World Cup. There we go. Happy days.
Yeah, so don't worry, like we're now full go here at RCP, and we're just going to absolutely chuck at you. But you mentioned one, NPC. Let's quickly talk about that before we move on.
Right. A few notable results. Another decent week. I will say there are more closer games this week than there were last week. Auckland versus Northland, 23 and 22 Auckland. So my adopted team, Auckland, came up short once again. I think they lost to Bay of Plenty a couple of weeks ago as well. So they've had a few losses, had a few wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, why is Auckland your adopted team? How did that come about?
Just because in Super Rugby, I like the Blues.
Okay. Solid.
And because that is my favourite kit. Remember in the first episode when I told Harvey, he was saying he needs to adopt a team, and I said, just pick the one with your favourite kit and roll with it. Essentially, that's what I did in Auckland. I like the hoops.
Oh, okay. Well, that means my favourite team for the NPC is Tasman Mako, and they're not doing great.
Well, you got to stick by your team, Murray.
I'll stick by them, don't worry.
22, so a nice 1 point game. Other close ones, Canterbury, Hawke's Bay, 32-28 to Canterbury. I don't think Canterbury have lost one yet. So Canterbury
doesn't surprise anyone, does it?
They are sort of the front runners. I haven't looked at the table this week. Last week I had the table up. I haven't looked at the table. I believe Canterbury will have probably taken the top spot in that one pool.
I will double check that for you, but you can keep going on.
Yeah. Otago, 32-28 Bay of Plenty. So another 32-28.
Love it.
And then the other one that I watched the highlights for, Southland versus Wellington. Wellington finally getting a pretty big win, 41-28.
Damn.
There we go. Because they've had a bit of a stop-start season so far. In the first one, it's been like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So they've pretty much solidified that with a pretty decent win.
I want to talk about both teams' bottom of the conferences quickly, just because the on like points difference alone. So we've got Southland at the bottom with minus 39 points.
Yep.
Losing all their games.
Yep.
And in the other conference is Manawatu.
I was going to say.
Losing all games. Minus 207.
They have had and actually, to be fair to the Manawatu boys, this week against Tasman, 36-26. It was a loss, but
it's getting there.
It's getting better. It's getting better. But no, they haven't had and it's a shame because I really like their kit. I know it's a weird reason, but I do like their kit.
That's fair.
They've had a bit of I suppose you could compare them to the Zebra of the MPC. Let's call them that. The Zebra.
It's a bit harsh on Manawatu, but yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Bless them.
No, but
I'm enjoying it. I know both.
It's probably been the most fun edition we've put in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it was just to really almost fill the gap.
Fill the gap and actually it's really convenient now, and this is why I think we do want to make it maybe a yearly thing, is when the Premiership, the URC, everything isn't on, the MPC is on. So so it's brilliant. It actually works out brilliantly.
And I could be completely wrong on this, but I will double down on it. I'm pretty sure we're the only rugby podcast that talks about Southern Hemisphere rugby. Like,
double down on it. It needs to be talked about. We are, if we're not the only, we are the best.
Oh, we're the best, 100% easily.
We are the best rugby podcast ever.
We are the best rugby podcast with no budget.
There we go.
Just imagine how good we'd be if we had money.
Give us money.
Give us money. Don't change anything else. Just fund us.
Yeah, just fund us.
Nothing else has to change.
But obviously, MPC is our newly adopted sort of competition.
Yes.
Going next week, a competition which is very close to Murray's heart. I'm a bit of it's the Premiership, by the way, if you haven't guessed already. I'm a bit of a Premiership virgin. Now, Murray knows.
I honestly don't know how.
I think purely because, I don't know, I just never showed, like, I watched Super Rugby, because obviously, well, I say I watched it. I watched as much Super Rugby as I could growing up, because growing up in the UK, very hard to get hold of when you're only on £2 pocket money a week. Very hard to get Super Rugby games. But I don't know, the Premiership, I don't know, I just wasn't as big of a rugby fan back then. I think after the 2015 World Cup, I think is when I properly started watching rugby, when I started watching Super Rugby and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Premiership I always knew about it, always knew about the teams, never watched it. But last season, I didn't follow it fully, but highlights, I think I caught a couple games and I kept track of it. Obviously, the Leicester Tigers, my adopted team, by the way, purely because Andre Pollard is there now. And
that sounds like glory hunting, I won't lie. That does come across as glory hunting.
I know, Murray, I'm not having any of it. I was with them before the start of the season, just because Jasper Wiese was there, just because Andre Pollard was rumoured to be now definitely going there. Because my second favourite team is Sale Sharks, and they're basically all South African, so there we are.
Get in the bin.
But anyway,
we don't like Sale at RCP.
I'll have one of our RCP hosts didn't he have a little thing with Sale Sharks?
Oh, Kyle, yeah, Kyle was training with them, yeah.
He got free kits. I was very jealous.
Did he get us a guest? No, so no. It stands. No, I hope Kyle had a great time. It is class that he got that. But yeah, let's predict the first round of the Premiership. Obviously, shock horror, Saracens get the bye round.
Yep.
Well, I say they get the bye round. It's very still up in arms with what's going on with Worcester Warriors because they cancelled the pre-season match with Glasgow
I was
last
gonna.
week.
So obviously, you and Harv talked about the whole Worcester situation when I wasn't here, and when
Yes.
I was under impression that it had been sold because obviously the schedule for the Premiership had been released, and obviously Worcester are there. But what is going on there?
It's a tricky situation. They released a statement today. I'm not going to read it all because I don't understand half of it. I'm not even going to attempt to understand it.
Yeah, it is.
Basically, some local MPs have called for the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport to almost force the Warriors into administration, where Warriors are talking with the DCMS, like I've just mentioned, coming up with, like, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not great. I mean, players aren't getting paid. There's rumours Duhan's away to France.
Yeah. Racing.
I think Mike Blair seen my video because it came out that he was very interested in getting the Edinburgh boys back.
Yeah.
I mean, if he watches my video, I'll come up as a consultant.
If in selfish reasons, I'd like to see Duhan go back to Edinburgh purely because that just means I get to watch him in the URC. Simple as.
But, I mean, I'd like him back in Edinburgh because that's very selfish because I am an Edinburgh fan. Unbiased, I'd like to see him tear it up in France.
Yeah.
But if I click the bias button, 100% come to Edinburgh.
Oh, as you would. It's like when Etzebeth was rumoured to be coming to Sharks. Obviously, now he is with Sharks. I was like, get out of France. Screw France. Get him back with us. Come on now.
Yeah.
Get an Etzebeth in the URC this season. Happy days.
I'm going to meet him.
Very lucky man. In fact, I believe
You're going to meet him. You'll be there.
When the Sharks play Edinburgh next year, early next year, I believe I shall be coming down to Edinburgh and hopefully watching my team beat your team.
No. You're just coming up to watch rugby. Calm down. Behave yourself.
What about the URC? We got some Premiership predictions.
So we start on Friday night. Friday Night Lights. What a way to start. Bristol Bears versus Bath.
Bath. Yes.
Bath have just got a new coach. They've done a lot of recruitment and kept a lot of the core as well. They've obviously lost Falatau and Anthony Watson.
And
that's the big heavy hitters. But
on Cardiff and Watson's gone Tigers.
But apart from that, they have kept the squad and added to it as well. They've brought Quinn Roux in.
They didn't have the best season last season, but they had a few shock results. I'm not sure about scores, but I'm going to give this one to Bath. I'd like to see Bath. Every prediction that I've seen, I have the rugby paper every week, and I've got the one this week's issue. They did their Premiership predictions in terms of where it's going to rank at the end of it. They said Bath 11th. I say no. I say Bath higher, and I say Bath to beat Bristol this opening weekend.
It's tricky because I'd like to see Bath come back with a bang. I don't think it'll be round one though. I think Bristol are just going to be too strong. It's at home. They have done hell of recruiting.
They've also done a big recruitment.
Genji's back. Ellis Genge. Kyle Sinclair has obviously been there, but he's going to be starting probably. They've got a man with Bradbury. AJ McGinty. It's crazy signings. I'm going to back the Bears for this one. But again, Friday Night Lights again. We've got Sale Sharks versus the Northampton Saints. Saints all day. I'm not backing Sale. Sorry.
I don't know. I caught a bit of the pre-season that Saints had against Ospreys.
Okay.
Watched the highlights. Obviously, Ospreys came away with the win. The only Welsh team to come away away with a win in the pre-seasons. But yeah, to be honest, I probably agree with you. Who did Sale play? Was it Zebre that they played in the pre-season? Was it Zebre?
Oh, I can't. I don't keep tabs on like other preseason results because
I think I might be completely wrong. I might be mixed up my preseason, but I think it was Zebre. And I think
you'll agree with me. Preseason, I get the idea. I get why it's there.
It's hard to make predictions on the actual season based on preseason.
Yeah, well, Scotland, Edinburgh got beat by London Scottish. It was a weird ending.
Cornish
Pirate put 40 on extra Chiefs.
Yep, that was a mad one.
To be fair, Chiefs played twice that night. They played Munster as well. It was that's super organising as well.
Brilliant organising, yeah.
And the thing I've noticed with pre-season, and this is to all clubs in my opinion, majority of the players you see for pre-season won't play.
What would be the one starting for the season? That's what I'm saying. It's hard. It's hard to predict. It's good to see young players and players you wouldn't usually see in the season, not your starting lineup, but it's hard to predict this, like the team's performance in season based on the pre-season.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry if your team's got beaten pre-season. Don't worry about it. It's pre-season. It doesn't count. Doesn't mean anything.
But no, I think I'll agree with you on this one. I think Saints fail.
Next game. Now this is, do I go with my head or do I go with my heart? My beloved Exeter Chiefs host defending champions Leicester Tigers.
Oof.
Chiefs were in the mud last year. We played not even horrific. The games we should have won, we didn't because the focus wasn't there. And now I feel, I could be wrong, in my eyes, there's not any expectation this season. So I'm like, we're going to be dangerous this year because no one's expecting a thing. I don't know. I could be wrong with that, but I have to back it. I have to back my team.
I'm going to have to back my adopted team in the Tigers.
It's going to be a juicy game. Like trying to be as neutral as I can.
It'll be interesting to see. Oh no, we won't, will he? Because he's in the Rugby Championship. No, but I was going to say it'll be interesting to see if Pollard starts. But he's injured. Second off, he's still with the box. So
is he though? Because I heard that he's away to he is now with Leicester because he's injured.
Yeah. Same with Lukanyuan. They've both been released back to teams because they're both out for the Rugby Championship. The rest of it, because Arm's back with Sharks now, and Pollard is now with Tigers, but obviously he's injured, so he won't start. But
fair. London Irish. Now this could be up in arms. We'll keep you posted as far as we can. London Irish versus Worcester. London Irish will win if the game goes ahead.
Irish, yeah.
Proper sleeper game, I think, this year. London Irish.
From the impression that I get from a lot of people that I've spoken to who do follow the Premiership, a lot of people don't like London Irish.
Okay.
That's the impression. A lot of people don't seem to like London Irish. I really like London Irish. I think
London Irish have been very good with us as well. We've had 2 guests from them, including the captain.
But they had some pretty good results. They beat Exeter last season. They beat who else did they beat? They were
the Drew with Saracens.
That's it. But yeah, no, definitely I'm backing London Irish against Worcester again. If
it goes ahead, yeah. Newcastle versus Harlequins.
Wins.
Yeah, it's a pretty foregone conclusion, isn't it?
Although it depends if they're playing in their away kit or the home kit, because I reckon that home kit, being as shocking as it is, might just make them bad. Neither of us like the Quins home kit. Neither of us like it at all. What a downgrade from last season.
I do really like the away kit though.
The away kit and the European kit are class. Just make the European kit your home kit. Simple. That's just saying that. That's my advice. There we are, done.
That's fair. Final game of the opening round of the Premiership. Gloucester versus Wasps, who are also potentially in the mud.
yeah, they're another team. Wasps and Worcester are in. They are the two teams having difficulties, which is a shame. Gloucester.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's a pretty easy choice. Yeah, I think Gloucester 9 times out of 10 with that one.
Especially at home.
Yeah. Yeah, failed to mention, yeah. Bristol versus Bath, Bristol are at home. Sale versus Saints, Sale are at home.
Yes.
London versus Worcester, if it happens. London Irish are playing at home. Newcastle Quins, Newcastle at home. Exeter Tigers, Exeter at home. And
See, that's what I think Chiefs as well. Sorry. I think because Sandy Park, opening day, is usually lovely down that time of year. Full crowd.
Home advantage. And you can't. A lot of people say, home advantage doesn't exist. Definitely exists. Definitely exists.
Do you know how I know it definitely exists? Edinburgh were a force to be reckoned with last season in the URC at home.
Oh, yeah.
Home
now,
advantage.
Obviously, we've got the Prem starting this weekend. URC starting the weekend after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Much going on.
So much going on.
Quick one just before we sign off.
Yeah, go for it.
Who's winning the Rugby World Cup Sevens? Both men and women. Who's winning? Also, what do you think? Shout out to our podcast 5, as I'm calling them, the Dream Team, Scott Curry and Michaela Boyd of New Zealand, the Levi sisters, our gold standard Levi sisters of Australia, and Naya Taffer of USA.
There we go. I'm going to start with the women's game.
Go for it.
Fully back in Australia.
You back Australia? Oh, okay.
Fully back in Australia. Obviously, we do love the Australian Sevens teams. We've had a couple of the girls on here, as you've just said. But just based on what I've seen, last time I saw them play, last time they played, was it? Where did they play last?
The last game the girls did at Sevens, they won a Commonwealth Gold.
It was the Commonwealth Games. Yeah.
So,
coming off that, Australia for the women's title.
That's fair.
Men's title, I find this harder. Actually, for the women's title, I will also say runner-up. Fiji.
Fijiana. Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna be a bit more closer to home on that one. I think I'm gonna go for the Black Ferns. It's gonna be a good old Aussie.
Put the Black Ferns for bronze medal.
It's tricky because Fijiana, this is their first big tournament.
First big tournament, yeah.
And they're hitting the ground running, as Fiji does with Sevens.
It just comes to them, doesn't it?
It just comes. I don't know what they do over there, how they're so good at Sevens. But I'd like to see Australia and the Black Ferns go at it for World Cup glory.
It would be a match. 14 minutes of madness.
20 minutes. Finals at 10 minutes and a half.
There we go. 20 minutes. For the men's game, this is harder. Bias obviously tells me, and I will say, obviously, LA Sevens, the Blitz box, completely disappointed. But we were missing our game maker, our absolute hero, Selvin Davids.
I mean, you've recalled one of the gods of Rugby Sevens.
I haven't seen the squad. I haven't seen the squad.
I was genuinely waiting on your reaction. They've brought back Sinatla.
Sinatla. Siabalo Sinatla.
Yeah, he's back. He's ready. Aye.
And we've got Selvin Davids back. Sinatla and Selvin Davids. Angelo Davids.
I love Angelo Davids.
And he's such a good young player, honestly. I want to say the Blitz box win it. It's home World Cup.
Tricky.
Home World Cup.
As a home World Cup.
But obviously the Aussie boys were just crowned World Series champions.
First time, yeah, and they've kept that same squad. So
you can't write off the All Blacks.
can't write off Fiji because that's Fiji.
And then you've got other teams like the USA.
I was just going to mention that.
Would come through as an upset. Yeah, they're all right. I'm just going to say it. Gold medal. Actually, we'll start a bronze medal. Bronze medal. All Blacks.
Okay.
Silver medal, Australia. And gold medal, Blitzbox.
Fiji don't even get a medal.
Nope. No medal for Fiji.
I love the fact that the World Cup Sevens trophy is called the Melrose Cup.
Melrose Cup.
Homer Sevens. It just makes sense. I love stuff like that. Bronze for me. I'm going to go very bold. I think the States. I think USA will get a.
Like I said, they are going to be the team. If there is going to be an upset, they're going to be the team to cause it.
Second, runners up. Sorry, Cam. I'm going Blitzbox.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And I can't decide on who's winning it because whoever wins it beats who I think is going to finish fourth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you, yeah.
So I can't decide if Fiji get full go and become world champions or the boys off the Gold Coast, World Series champions, Australia. I think whoever loses that will then also lose to the States. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
I'm just gonna go Fiji. I think you go sevens, you pick Fiji. So the World Series champions, Australia, will finish fourth.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Okay.
What, with the men's and the women's game, who is one team out of your top three who you think could genuinely cause an upset?
What do you mean?
Who could get a shock silver, gold medal outside of your top three that you've just said?
Top three?
Yeah.
People are going to think I'm stupid because it's not a shock, but it would be based off the season they've had. New Zealand.
Yeah. Okay.
They
Yeah.
finished eighth.
Finish
in
eighth.
the World Series. So Argentina as well.
Argentina.
So close to winning the World Series.
I mean, it was between the four teams. It could have been Australia, Blitzbox, Fiji, and
Argentina. Yeah.
Argentina.
I think Argentina might have a point to prove because they were so close. They were in the lead in the rankings for so long of the circuit and just kind of slipped off at the end. So that'd be nice to see. So they're my two dark horses based off series form.
Okay.
For the women.
For the women's, yeah.
England. Ellie Boatman is unreal. Like, she's an absolute talent.
You stole the words out of my mouth. I was gonna go for England for the women's.
Actually, I'm gonna double down as well.
There we go.
Canada.
Oh Christ. Moving about. This is how I'm going to do the rest of the podcast now. Listen, you should have seen the setup I've had for this podcast because my phone was dead before we started. I've had it precariously balanced so I could charge it whilst filming this.
Smart. I'm keeping that in. I'm definitely keeping that in. I'm not editing nothing.
Yeah, no. Put it in the. No, women's England, same as you. Men's, I've already said USA.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of any other outliers.
I'd like to go full bias into Scotland, but I can't because I know that we're not there. Like we have a very like spur of the moment, like one shock result and one. Last time
I watched Scotland, because I didn't watch the LA Sevens, I only kept up with it on highlights, watching the Blitzbox games, and then keeping up with the results. Didn't watch the actual tournament. Last time I watched Scotland play was when I watched the Commonwealth Sevens. And the thing is, you're a good side. You've got talent, and absolutely, is the right way. Absolutely rapid team, I'm going to say.
Femi Sofalarin is our one to watch. There you go. There's one to watch from Scotland, and of course the captain Jamie Farndale.
There we go.
Fun fact: I've known Jamie Farndale since he was about 17. Not on a friendly basis. Just my dad's job. He's a bus driver, and happened to drive the Scotland under-20s to a game, and I got invited. And on that bus was Jamie Farndale, Damien Hoyland. I'm trying to think of maybe potential other noticeable names. I think they're the two main ones. It was a very awkward stage. Hoggy and all that just went up, so maybe Magnus Bradbury might have been another.
Magnus, yeah.
He's about the same. Yeah, there you go. But there's your little fun fact. Now, I've known Jamie Farndale a long, long time, but not.
Should make that a weekly segment, Murray's Fun Facts. Just give us little stories about your rugby happenings.
I'll give you an hour. Just because it's the first one, then we'll give you a fun fact. I think every Prem team has commented on or liked one of my videos this week.
Yeah, actually, for those of you, if you haven't seen in the comment sections of a lot of Murray's recent, the kit rankings and whatnot, you do. What is someone tipping them off? Is it you?
No, there's a button that says you can
watch this Murray bloke comment on his post. Because honestly, how many Premiership teams have you had comment now? You've had
4, 5.
Yeah, had Bath.
Bath commented twice. Bath was nice, but they came back twice. Bristol commented about the European kit.
Who was it that called you? Oh no, and in Scotland.
Scotland called me the TikTok kit king. Yeah, that was.
King, yeah.
Edinburgh commented.
Yeah. So we got Premier international teams, URC teams. You're too famous for your own good. We should have you as a guest on the podcast once.
What, for the final whistle? I'll interview myself.
Yeah. I'll come on and I'll interview Murray. I'll be like, what's it like being the TikTok kit king, as titled by Scotland Rugby themselves?
Yeah, that wasn't even self-entitlement. That was Scottish Rugby that gave me that one.
Yeah. You can't deny it. You can't
deny it. There's nothing I could say about that.
Nothing you can do about it.
I'm trying to get a top off somebody that comments.
I mean, if you're gonna comment, send them the kit.
Yeah.
Simple.
Bath. I'm calling Bath out because they've commented twice.
Was it? Who was
Actually,
it?
no. London Irish has commented twice as well. Somebody do it.
They've got nice new kits, London Irish.
I have.
Nice Celtic design on them.
I love it. It's a simple thing as well.
Okay. Favorite kit new kit from the Premiership. Just a quick one to end off the podcast. Favorite new kit from the Premiership.
Bears away, Bristol away jersey with a rip right through.
With a rip through. Yeah.
Honourable mention: Saints away, the purple away top from Saints.
Yeah, I was going to say that either the Saints away kit, just because it reminds me of Exeter's European kit. Was it when they won it? When they had that lavendery purple?
Yeah, I had it on this. I would show you, but I had it on yesterday, so it's been washed.
Somewhere, didn't you? That was one of my favourite looking kits. And I think that Saints one reminds me of that. But I'm gonna have to go with the Quins away kit.
That's solid. I like that. That's solid.
It's between the Bears and the Quins away kit, and I think the Quins away kit. I don't know, something about it. I just like it more.
Fair enough. Well, I think we'll leave it on that. Comment down below. What's your favourite kit this year and why? Give us a reason. Don't just say it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. This has been Rugby Connection. We've absolutely smashed another series. We're not finished. Definitely not finished. We've absolutely smashed another week.
We've got too much more to be finished.
There's so much guests coming out. There we go. Coming out this week, we have, I called her the Dreadlock Warrior. I think she now wants it to be like her proper nickname. It's Laurie Kramer from the Wallaroos, who will be signing for Exeter Chiefs. batshit crazy in the nicest way possible.
It's a compliment.
It's the most real conversation I think I've ever recorded. There was like nothing about rugby. We sat and talked about Shrek. We talked about food. There is some rugby in it as well, but yeah.
A bit of rugby with a rugby show, but yeah.
Yeah, has to be kind of mentioned. Or footy, as I kept getting asked to talk.
Yeah, bit of footy.
Yeah. I mean, the big interview came out a few days ago. Victor Matfield.
Big Victor.
Big Victor.
Big Victor.
No, he's not. It's just a running joke. I'll tell Cam the running joke later, but it all ties into itself, and it's scarily. So, but there is a backy story in it for you. A very illegal backy story in it for you.
Very illegal backy story. I rewatched the pod. I rewatched that interview yesterday. It just makes me chuckle.
Please, Captain, one more. No.
No. Wait, he got one more.
He got one more.
He got one more. Player went off. But anyway, no spoilers for that. You have to go watch it for that story.
Yeah, have to watch it. Watch all of them because there's interviews coming thick and fast. We sat down with Canada captain Sophie de Goody today. She is from royalty in Canada.
She is Canadian rugby royalty. Both parents.
Both parents captain the side, and her brother is also capped as well.
What a family. But yeah.
Great. So yeah, thanks as always, Cam, for bringing some knowledge and a fine new haircut. I feel like people haven't acknowledged the haircut.
So a fine new haircut. It's just all gone.
Slick trim of it. But no, we're back next week. We'll have the Rugby Sevens World Cup to talk about, the Premiership, NPC. There's no Rugby Championship next week, as Cam has informed me, which I'm glad to hear. So I mean, we don't have to ramble and try and save face like we did a few weeks ago.
Speed round from everything, yeah.
Yeah. Prem, Sevens World, NPC, and URC predictions next week.
There we go. My favourite.
Oh, there you go. So this has been the Rugby Connection podcast, and we'll see you next time.